supplementary estimates of expenditure for the financial year ending 30th June 2014. Be it resolved that this Honourable House approves the supplementary estimates of expenditure for the period 1st January 2014 to 30th June 2014, amounting to $45,056,927.22, the details of which are contained in the attached schedule.
Seconded.
Madam Speaker, the supplementary estimate totaling $45,056,927.22 represent advances made from the contingencies fund for the period January to June 2014. This presentation is in accordance with the provisions of Section 81 of the Commonwealth of Dominica Constitution Order 1978, as well as Section 12 of the Finance Administration Act, Act Number 4 of 1994. These statutes allow the government the flexibility of incurring expenditure not originally approved in the annual budget and subsequently seeking approval of the Parliament for such spending. The sums were appropriated as follows: 32% or $14,644,845.19 was financed from local resources. 51% or $23,038,483.17 was paid from loan funds, and 16% or $7,383,608.86 was grant funded. Madam Speaker, I will now give details of the expenditure which was incurred for the above stated period. In respect to the Ministry of National Security, a total allocation of $1,900,000 was appropriated to meet contractual obligations for the construction of the Lap Lane Police Station. This represents an amount over and above what was appropriated in 2013-2014 budget. This project is well advanced and we look forward to the completion very soon. Madam Speaker, the sum of $486,696 was allocated to the Electoral Office. $241,896 were required to meet expenses incurred for additional activities relating to the holding of Village Council elections. $244,800 were appropriated for the engagement of a legal draftsman to review the electoral laws as it pertains to the implementation of the multi-purpose identification card. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Trade received an additional $1,195,411.41. Of this total, $450,000 were allocated to the Small Business Development Project to provide assistance to small hotels. The support of these small businesses is to assist with the upgrading and enhancing of the tourism accommodation facilities. Under the multi-purpose Park House project, an additional $745,411.41 was approved by the CARICOM Development Fund for project implementation. Remedial works and the provision of equipment are being undertaken at the 2 park houses at Roosevelt and Portsmouth. Input support is being provided to farmers in an effort to increase the acreage of hot peppers, dasheen, and plantains. Marketing support will also be provided for improving the design and packaging materials of these crops in an effort to enhance the presentation and quality, thereby making them more export ready. Madam Speaker, in respect to the Office of the Prime Minister, the sum of $250,470.19 was approved to meet expenses for the state funeral of the late His Excellency Vernon L. Shaw, arrears of remuneration due to members of the Public and Police Service Commissions, costs associated with the installation of His Excellency Charles Savre, and operation and maintenance activities in the Office of the Prime Minister. In respect of the Ministry of Finance, Madam Speaker, grant funding from the Banana Accompanying Measures Program, BAM, was approved in a sum of $673,767.83 to meet the cost of administration to enable the commencement of the project. Madam Speaker, I take the opportunity to give a short update on the status of the BAM. I am advised that all the feeder roads selected and prioritized by the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry for rehabilitation under the BAM have been surveyed, and estimates for the rehabilitation works have been prepared for the engagement of private consultants, as well as staff of the Ministry of Public Works and Lands and Surveys Division. The companies, both local and regional, have been invited to tender for the validation and supervision of works, to be undertaken in 2 phases for the rehabilitation of the feeder roads selected and prioritized. This will include verification of the selected roads and verification approval of engineering drawings and pre-construction cost estimates. The indicative timetable for this project is as follows. 1, deadline for submission of tenders for supervision, 12 September 2014. 2, start of supervision contract, 1st October 2014. 3, deadline for publication of tender for the works, 30th November 2014. 3, deadline for submission of tenders for works, 31st December 2014. 5, tender evaluation and award of contracts, January 2015. 6, commencement of works, February 2015. Also, under the BAM, grant financing in the sum of $255,086.63 was approved for citrus certification for the construction of composting bays at the Botanic Gardens and purchase of equipment. The fight against the black sigatoka disease continues. In an effort to curb and manage the disease, approval was given for an additional $49,996.38 to be used for the procurement of chemicals. Madam Speaker, finally, in respect to BAM, we all have to appreciate that the processes, all of which have been announced here, have to get the final approval of the European Union. Madam Speaker, during this period, $565,130.26 were made available to the Ministry of Agriculture. There was approval of $234,716 for operational expenses under the Whitey-Kubuli National Trail Unit. Madam Speaker, government continues to demonstrate its unwavering commitment to human resource development in this country. An additional sum of $2 million was allocated to the recurrent budget in the Ministry of Education to meet commitments for tertiary education for Dominican students. Also, a further $40,000 had to be appropriated under the receipt of a donation for the National Development Bank for the primary school math power contest. Madam Speaker, in respect to the Ministry of Lands, Housing, Settlements, and Water Resource Management, $5,241,927.42 were appropriated as follows. 1, an amount of $2,082,089.57 allocated to land settlement and Development to facilitate payments for land acquired by the government. 2, under the West Coast Water Supply, an additional $2,076,807.60 was approved for commitments as per contractual agreement. This project is in keeping with the government's goal of providing 100% coverage of safe and reliable potable water for the citizens of this country. The project activities include laying of pipes and construction of storage tanks, which will significantly improve the coverage and water quality for communities from Salisbury all the way up to Capuchin. 3, what's that? Additional sum of $495,000 was approved for Silver Lake Housing to facilitate contractual obligations for the ongoing construction of the apartment building. We are pleased, Madam Speaker, that this project has been completed and that the benefiting families have now taken up residence. Government will move shortly to construct the second set of apartments, Madam Speaker. As a matter of fact, tomorrow afternoon, we'll be handing over the documents to the families there. You don't come to those things. 5, Madam Speaker, 4, Madam Speaker, the third water supply project which seeks to upgrade and repair the intake, infrastructure and equipment in the WA1 network is being implemented with a loan from the CDB. However, Madam Speaker, $104,230.25, $104,230.25 were approved from local resources as a counterpart contribution for the engineering consultancy. 6, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, in December 2013, a trough system affected the island and several areas were affected by floods and landslides. There were many persons who were affected by these floods. Grant assistance was received from the government of India in a sum of $483,800, and this amount was appropriated for assistance to victims who suffered damage due to inclement weather system. Madam Speaker, the outbreak of chikungunya disease required an acceleration of the vector control activities of the Ministry of Health to stem the spread of the disease. In that regard, an amount of $75,197.12 was approved from local resources. Madam Speaker, the World Bank approved a loan for the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project, which aims to reduce the vulnerability of national hazards and climate change impacts in Dominica through investment in resilient infrastructure, as well as improving hazard data collection and monitoring system. $60,065.04 were disbursed from the loan resources to meet the cost of training local personnel so as to commence project implementation. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Tourism and Legal Affairs received approval for $355,444 for the purpose of meeting litigation costs. The Ministry of Culture received additional funds of $76,728 from local resources for the preparation of the grounds of the Windsor Park Stadium for the international cricket matches between West Indies and New Zealand. And Madam Speaker, next year, Dominica will host West Indies and Australia at the Windsor Park Stadium. Madam Speaker, as always, the White Elephant Stadium, you always perched up there. Madam Speaker, appropriation totaling $584,216.78 was approved for the Personnel Services Department for meeting payments for communication, janitorial, and security services, as the budgeted amount proved insufficient for the requested services provided during the year. Madam Speaker, a substantial part of this supplementary expenditure $31,453,146.23, or 69%, was towards infrastructural development being undertaken by the Ministry of Public Works. Under the grant funding from the government of Venezuela, an additional sum of $2,429,631.81 was approved for meeting contractual obligations for the Penville-Vickers Road rehabilitation. Approval was given for $1,998,564.45 for the Pitty-Savan to Boutica-Delis Road rehabilitation to meet contractual commitments with respect to ongoing construction works. Madam Speaker, we may recall the damage caused with the passage of Tropical Storm Ophelia. The Dominica National Petroleum Company provided a grant of $3,501,322.59 to assist with the improvement of the road infrastructure that was affected during that storm and which suffered further deterioration as a result of subsequent heavy rains. This amount was appropriated to the road rehabilitation project, and the following works have been done. Granford Road, in Granford, Madam Speaker, road and drainage rehabilitation. Mount Prosper, road and drainage rehabilitation. Lubia, road and drainage rehabilitation. Girardel Eggleston, road improvement. Coptal, road improvement. Lale Coco, rehabilitation and asphalt surfacing. Campbell, asphalt surfacing. Massac, construction of concrete road. Madam Speaker, the 24th December 2013 resulted in flash flooding, landslides, rock slides, and affected several areas in Dominica, particularly the south of the island. While there were no reports of deaths, several homes and businesses were flooded, which resulted in damage of property and loss of personal belongings. The CDB approved an immediate response rehabilitation loan so as to enable the Ministry of Public Works to undertake emergency and cleanup operation works following the torrential rains. The amount appropriated was $2,016,150. Madam Speaker, due to the increase in costs of the utility services, the sum of $2,400,000 was appropriated. The cost of electricity is still of concern for the government, and the geothermal initiative is expected to bring some relief in this area. Madam Speaker, an additional $10,921,510.79 was approved to be spent on the geothermal project. Specifically,
I'm sorry to disturb you, but certain persons have their cell phones too close to the mic. There's a terrible feedback, and it's humming on the radio and television. Can you can you just ensure that they are not close to the mic, please? Continue.
Madam Speaker, an additional $10,921,510.79 was approved to be spent on the geothermal project, specifically for the preparation and drilling of the reinjection well. Earlier this year, flow tests to determine the generation capacity of the production well were undertaken, and these were very successful. The funding was made available by the Agence Française de Développement, the AFD. Approval of $790,620.66 from local funds was for the Roseau to Melville Road to meet government's contribution to the project. An additional $7,395,345.93 was appropriated to account for the amount provided from the AFD loan to meet all the contractual works for the bridges and other activities so as to enable completion of the project. Madam Speaker, despite the many challenges that have been faced on this project, it is nearing completion. Our citizens have already praised the efforts of the government on this undertaking, and users have indicated the enhanced driving experience and the security and the safety of driving from Roosevelt to Melville Airport. Madam Speaker, $95,726.94 was approved for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to assist with meeting additional operational expenses incurred. Madam Speaker, in light of the above, I recommend for the approval of this Honourable House the supplementary estimate in the sum of $45,056,927.22, which was spent between the months January to June 2014. By any measure, Madam Speaker, that's a lot of money to be spent in a small country like Dominica in this short period of time, which is extra budgetary, is on top of the budget and the amount we spend that have been appropriated by the Parliament. And so, Madam Speaker, when they say nothing is happening, look at what's happening in Dominica and how much money the government is spending to improve the way of life of the people of this country and creating a better country called Dominica. Thank you, Madam Speaker.